Hello, BookTube. This is Aaron from Aaron Read a Book or Aaron Read a Book. I've got a Friday read. It's been quite a few weeks since I've done one, so I've got quite a lot of books to talk about, but I'll see how it goes. I'll talk about the most recent one first, and then if it's taking ages, I'll cut some of the later ones out. But first, I also have a haul because I can't go 3 weeks without buying any books. So, I've got some new things in. The first book is a Jane Austen July one, which is Jane Austen's Letters. I was a bit torn about which edition to go for this. I don't really like this cover either, but I didn't know if I should get this one, which has got basically loads of them in, or one of the more edited ones, or just the Letters to Cassandra. But I decided in the end just to go and get this one because it's got it's a big book, and I can just dip in and out of it. I don't think I'd sit down and read this all in one go, but yeah, it should be interesting. I don't. If anyone's read Jane Austen's Letters, let me know about them in the comments because I haven't seen that much chat about them on BookTube. But yeah, I know a lot of the. I know from reading biographies that a lot of them were burnt, so by Cassandra. So it would have been interesting to see what was in those ones as well. Next book is a sequel, and it's the sequel to Dreaming the Eagle by Amanda Scott, which I'm reading with Sarah from Your True Shelf, and we're both really enjoying it. So it just makes sense to get the next one. I like this shiny cover. Yeah, so this is the story of Boudica, or Braca as she's called in this, and the first book she's very young in it, so it's mostly her sort of young adulthood. So it will be interesting to see where this one goes. And there's also a third one that focuses on her life. So I can't remember what that's called, Dreaming something else. And then there's a fourth one which I think is after her life, but we'll see how it goes. Mad's got some really good writer, and she's mostly a crime writer, so it's weird that she does this historical fiction, but it means that she makes the plot really kind of twisty and compelling, so it works out really well. The next two books are both by the same author, and it's was prompted by me recently reading one of their books, so I will talk about that in a minute. But this is the Winter Solstice by Osman Pilcher. Yeah, she's got some quite seasonal books, so it makes sense to get them ahead of time. This is a really nice cover, big hardback. I've heard this is one of her best ones, so I didn't get September though, which I think is Gina Stania's favourite one, but Winter Solstice I've got, and Coming Home as well. I don't actually know what they're about. I did read the synopses, but I've already forgotten them. But I imagine they'll be similar sort of style to the Shell Seekers. Yeah, so this is a really chunky one. The Winter Solstice one is large print as well, so it's, even though it's big, it's probably not very long. This is really big and quite small text. So this one's definitely. I wonder if this is a mammoth. Just about, I think. Just under 800 pages. I would class that as a mammoth, especially since it's such big pages. Yeah, so maybe that's a March one. I've broken the cover. No, it should be fine. This last book, I'm actually ashamed that I've bought it, but it is for Garb August, and it's written by someone I openly hate, so that should be interesting. I don't think I've ever bought a book by someone I actually already hate. So and that's Nadine Dorries. What's it even called? The Four Streets. Nadine Dorries is a former member of Parliament in England, Tory, and she's kind of working class Liverpool woman, but so you'd think working class would normally go and be a Labour MP, but she is she was a despicable Tory MP who sort of worships the ground Boris Johnson walks on, but at the same time he never really respected her. But yeah, she's although this is like a Sunday Times bestseller, I don't think they are proper big bestsellers, but it's apparently about 1950s Liverpool. I've heard they're terrible, but that's what Garbox is all about. So this kind of qualifies as garbage, and it hits the one like a celebrity memoir sort of thing. Well, not memoir, but a celebrity, but because she's both a celebrity and I think she was an author maybe even before she was MP, but they look very trashy. So that might be one that I read for Garb August. Let me know if you've read those Rosamunde Pilchers. I've had quite a few comments on my last video when I mentioned the Shell Seekers, that of people being Rosamunde Pilcher fans, which doesn't really surprise me because it's very up my street. So I'm not surprised people who watch on my channel also like Rosamunde Pilcher. But if you've read those particular ones, let me know, and let me know which is your favourite Pilcher book, because I'm interested to see if a lot of people. I think the Shell Seekers is by far her best, or not her best known book, her most successful book. But Gina prefers September, I think. Yeah, so let me know in the comments. I'd be very surprised if anyone's read the Nadine Dorries, but tell me anyway. Yeah. Hello, BookTube. This is. Oh, I've got a slight change of location because I'm currently dog sitting. Trying to get Snoopy in the video, but he's just to the side. Snoopy, Snoop. Oh, he's very cute. Yeah, so I will continue on with my reviews from the new location. Let's see if I can get Snoopy to come over here. No, he's not. He's just sitting here looking at me. Actually, I can just move the camera. Snoopy. We could just have Snoopy looking at himself. Yeah, so the last book I read was Snoopy's going away. The last book I read was The Shell Seekers by Rosamunde Pilcher. Yeah, so Rosamunde Pilcher is an author I've heard about from Gina Stanya's channel mostly, and it sounded up my street, and it was up my street. It's very much reminded. I said this in my last video. It very much reminded me of Elizabeth Jane Howard, who I love, and then as I was reading the book, there's a reference to Elizabeth Jane Howard. One of the characters reads an Elizabeth Jane Howard book, so I was delighted and delighted that my guess was correct. So the basic story of the Shell Seekers, the title comes from a painting in the book, and the main character is Penelope, and it kind of follows Penelope throughout her life, but mostly in between the war years and then much later when she's in her 60s and quite old. And it also follows the life of her children at the beginning, you get lots of different perspectives from her children, mostly Olivia, and the three children are all very different. One's very career-driven, sort of independent woman, Olivia. One is a bit of a sort of wheeler-dealer, not really a wheeler-dealer, but a bit of a gambler who takes after his father, who was always having issues with money. And the oldest, Nancy, is kind of pretentious, sort of snobbish person who's not very likable. But Penelope, in her old age, gets a gardener because she's just had a heart attack, and this gardener reminds her of a young man that she had an affair with in World War II, and then you kind of go back in time. There's also a young girl as well who is the daughter of one of Olivia, her daughter's boyfriends, and she comes to stay with her as well. So she kind of lives vicariously through these two young people, and it reminds her of her wartime romance. So the beginning of the book you spend in the current day, which is like the 80s, I think, and then it jumps back into the 40s, and there's quite a lot of it in the 40s. And her father is a not hugely successful painter, but then or successful enough to live on, but then in the 80s there's a revival of Victorian works, and all of a sudden her father's paintings become very valuable, and there's various issues with the children who want her to sell her three remaining painters, including the Shell Seekers. So that's kind of what the novel revolves around, but it's very character driven, not hugely plotty, although there is quite a lot of drama in it. But yeah, I really loved it. It's very well written, and as you can see from the beginning of this video, I bought 2 more, so I definitely want to read more Rosamunde Pilcher. Before that, I listened to an audiobook, The Man Who Died Twice, which is the second in Richard Osman's The First Day Murder Club series. I won't speak too much about that because it's the second in the series. It takes off straight from the first one, and the 4 main characters are the 4 main characters in the first one, the First Day Murder Club, and they're just as delightful as in the first book, but obviously you know them already, so there's less sort of character building needs to take place. And I think the mystery is better in the second one. It's kind of a bit more complex, and there's more spy stuff in it, because one of the characters, Elizabeth, is like an ex-spy, and one of her ex-husbands comes back into the picture, and some diamonds have been stolen, and all sorts of hijinks happen. There's one of the First Day Murder Club gets mugged as well, and there's a side story of them trying to track down the mugger and punish him. But yeah, again, very funny and charming. I'll definitely continue on with the series. One thing that's annoying is that the first 2 are, the audiobooks are read by, I forget who it is, but an old English actress, and the third one's read by someone different, and then I think the 4th one goes back to her, but it's going to be hard to get used to a different voice. She does all the voices very well. Before that, I read a book for June on the Range, which was Sackett's Land by Louis L'Amour, and this is the first in his long Sackett series. And the point of these books is to kind of span the whole of the history of the American West. I think Snoopy's coming back. Snoopy. No, Snoopy. No, he doesn't want to come on camera. But yeah, so I thought this was going to start mostly in American West, but it really does start at the start, because it's sort of not long after Cortez, and most of the novel is in England, and it's quite swashbuckling. But yeah, I didn't like it as much as the other Louis L'Amour that I read. It's about this guy who finds some coins in the ground on his land, I think, and he kind of uses those coins to kind of start a venture going to America, and it's kind of very pulpy in the way that I expect the first Louis L'Amour that I read last year to be, in that the main character is just really unusually good at everything and really smart, even though he's essentially just a farmer in like the 17th century. He can read, and his dad was a great swordsman, so he can fight, and he's really smart and knows loads of stuff. So it is a bit pulpy in that way, but it was good fun. It's what you expect from a pulp western, although very light on the western. But yeah, I'll definitely continue with the series, because I want to see how it goes down his family into the history of the American West. So we'll see how that goes. I've got the next one, and the last book I've finished since I think I made a Friday Reads was Strange Sally Diamond. I really enjoyed this as well. It's a bit like Elephant is, what's that book called? Whatever, is okay or is fine. In that it's about a neurodivergent person, but I think it's much better done, and it has a mystery of half set in Ireland, half set in New Zealand, and at the beginning of the book it's really funny, and I was like, oh, this is quite a nice funny Irish book, but then it gets really dark. But I won't go into any spoilers, but it's really dark, and it's quite a lot about trauma. But yeah, I won't go into too much detail because I spoke about it last time, but I did enjoy it quite a lot. I think it had some issues with pacing and structure, because the second half of the book spans decades, so that felt a bit rushed after the beginning, where you're getting to know Sally Diamond. But yeah, it was very good. I do recommend it. I saw that on Hannah from Savage Reads channel, so that was a good recommendation. Yeah, I'm gonna go hang out with Snoopy. So if you've read any of these books, let me know. BookTube, have a good one. Actually, I better tell you what I'm reading now. I'm still reading Boudica Dreaming the Eagle with Sarah from Your True Shelf, and I picked up the next one. I have started an audiobook of Emma by Jane Austen, read by Jenny Agutter, which is strange, but she reads very quickly in the audiobook as well. I would not listen to it if I hadn't read Emma before, because she's too quick, but I'm enjoying that. And I'm also reading a book for Rocket Summer, which is H.G. Wells's The Island of Dr. Moreau. I don't know how to say it, but I've just started that, and it's very H.G. Wellsy so far, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, have a good one, BookTube. Bye.